Physicists don't argue about whether multiverse theories sound insane. They argue about which insane one turns out to be true. One of them is built on inflation theory, the same math that already matches real telescope data, though the multiverse part of it stays just out of reach. Another says you might be a string of code somebody else is running. By the end of this list, you'll know exactly where real physics ends and pure guesswork begins. And it's not where you'd expect. Start with the multiverse theory that grows out of inflation, a theory most cosmologists already accept as solid physics. It's called inflation, and it should have left bubbles behind. Right after the Big Bang, space stretched faster than light itself. Some patches never fully stopped stretching. Those patches broke away into bubbles of their own, separate universes, still inflating today. That's about as solid as multiverse physics gets. The same inflation math that already matches what our telescopes measure also predicts bubbles should exist in many models, though none has ever been confirmed. No exotic new ingredient required, just gravity and inflation, doing what their own equations demand. The catch: those bubbles are already flying away from us faster than light can travel, which means we will never actually cross that gap to see one. Bubble universes might be the most credible theory here, and the one we're guaranteed never to see. Parallel universes are just science fiction. Two of these theories are taken seriously by mainstream physicists. Next, an interpretation quantum physicists have argued about for 70 years. Because the alternative sounds worse. Normally, a quantum event with multiple outcomes just picks one, at random. Many worlds says the universe never actually picks. Instead, it splits, and every outcome happens in its own branch. Flip a coin under this theory, and somewhere a copy of you is currently losing an argument about how it landed. It needs no new physics at all. Just the same quantum equations everyone already uses, read without editing out the other branches. The cost is a number of parallel universes so large that no experiment could ever check a single one. Untestable in principle, and that line is about to get crossed again. Remember bubble universes, the one entry with actual data behind it. This one already lost that safety net. Now it gets stranger. String theory's own entry in the multiverse race. It's built out of something called a brane. Picture our universe as a three-dimensional membrane, floating inside a space with even more dimensions than that. Other universe branes could be floating right alongside ours, close enough that gravity itself might leak between them. On one of those branes, gravity might behave nothing like the gravity holding you to the ground right now. Some models even have branes colliding to trigger their own Big Bangs. It's mathematically consistent inside string theory. And that's exactly the problem. String theory itself still has no confirmed experimental support. Brane Cosmology is a theory built on a theory, impressive math, resting on ground nobody has tested. Here's a theory that skips the multiverse question completely. Maybe there's only one universe, collapsing and starting over. In this model, our universe doesn't end in a slow, cold heat death. It bounces and expands all over again. No true beginning, no true end, just one rhythm repeating on a scale we can barely picture. Compared to floating branes and colliding dimensions, a single recycled universe almost sounds tame. The problem: every bounce should erase the information from the one before it. Nobody has solved how a universe resets without a suspiciously convenient push. So the cycle only works if you assume the exact fine-tuning it was supposed to explain away. One step further out, every mathematically possible universe already exists. Ours included. Under this hypothesis, physical existence and mathematical existence are treated as the exact same thing. If a structure is logically consistent, this theory says it's out there somewhere, being real. It elegantly explains why our universe obeys mathematical laws in the first place. Because under this view, obeying math is the only requirement for existing at all. It also predicts absolutely nothing anyone can test. A universe containing every possibility looks identical to just this one existing. An infinite catalog of universes, and not one working return address to visit any of them. 5 theories in, and the pattern should already feel familiar. Bubbles, branches, brains, bounces, infinite math. Every step trades away testability to buy more universes. That's the real ranking hiding underneath this whole list. Not how weird an idea sounds, but how much of it anyone could actually check. And every entry so far has checked out less than the one before it. Which brings us to the theory that doesn't just add more universes. It questions whether this one is even the original. The simulation hypothesis. Our entire universe might be a computed construct, running inside someone else's machine. The logic: if any civilization ever builds enough computing power to simulate whole conscious minds, they'd likely build many. Simulated minds would then vastly outnumber the original biological kind, including statistically yours. Which means the honest move is just to assume you're one of them and get on with your Tuesday anyway. Notice this isn't testable the way inflation's bubbles are. There's no leftover signal, no telescope pointed at the right patch of sky. Here's the wall this theory can't get past. A simulation good enough to fool its own inhabitants would, by definition, leave no detectable seam anywhere, which makes it the least testable idea on this entire list. And if that thought unsettles you, congratulations somewhere. A simulated version of you already had this exact conversation. 6 theories in, and we've gone from a testable prediction to a claim no experiment could ever touch. So here's the line we promised at the start. Inflation's bubbles are the only entry on this list, with a real testable footprint behind them. Everything after that gets less provable and more speculative, one theory at a time, right down to the idea that reality itself is borrowed hardware. None of that makes the later ones worthless. Untestable isn't the same as false. It just means physics hasn't caught up to the question yet. What you're left holding is 2 things at once: real awe at how far the reasoning goes, and honesty about how little of it anyone can prove. Every one of these theories started the same way every good physics idea does. Someone took the equation seriously and refused to stop at "that's absurd." Maybe that's the actual takeaway. The universe has never once cared whether an explanation sounded reasonable to us. If you want the other side of this, not more universes, but how the one we've got actually ends, that's next. Subscribe so you don't miss it.